Hello, I'm Ed Carey, founder and CEO of AudienceTown. We are a data-driven advertising platform for the real estate industry, and we thought that it would be helpful for customers and prospects in the real estate industry to hear the 8 most important insights from this year's annual epic 333-page slide deck from Mary Meeker, which was presented back in June of this year. Every year, Mary Meeker presents this internet trend report. And every year, people study it, analyze it, and try to figure out what's next for the major internet trends around the world. We went through all 333 pages and picked out 8 easy takeaways for this year's report. The full report is available really anywhere on the web. You can search for it and find it. If you're able to click into this URL here, you can grab it that way too. And it really is worthwhile reading. While it is long, if you break it up, you'll learn a lot about the state of the world through the internet. Now, the first big lesson is asking yourself if you are a mobile-first business and marketer. It's really incredible to see how mobile usage has grown over the past 8 years, but also significantly is how all the advertising spend has also caught up. In fact, people are spending more time with their phones than watching TV anymore. And that's significant because people looking for property, whether to buy or to rent, are spending the same amount of time on their phone, and they're conducting most of their research and most of their journey on their phone these days. So that's very significant. Being a mobile-first business and being a mobile-first marketer has become a major strategic thrust for a lot of companies these days. The next lesson, over half of all web advertising is programmatic, which means it is automated, it is auction-based, and it's very data-driven, very much like the stock markets. And you can find real estate intenders or movers using these methods. They're far less expensive and they're far less wasteful because they use data to show ads to the right people. So it's remarkable to think that after 10 years of being in existence, programmatic advertising, also called automated advertising, also called real-time bidding, has really taken over how digital advertising is delivered online and responsible for most of the ads you may see. The next lesson. It's very important to keep in mind the old tried and true elements of advertising. We see certainly online that big companies like here, are taking a lot of the ad share gains for themselves because they offer the 4 big tactics that still work: targeting, creative, commerce, and relevance, which means the right ad shown to the right person at the right time can still create a great advertising experience for consumers, and it can drive your advertising investment. So those things still work. Factor and consider all of them when putting together your advertising plans. The next lesson is, don't panic on this, but do start to pay attention. You've seen it in the headlines over the past year, and it has certainly affected and impacted the real estate industry so far. We saw that when Facebook was impacted by the Cambridge Analytica scandals of last year, and then again this year, 2019, with the FHA settlement. Consumers are very aware of how their data is being used online now. They're learning more. They want to understand that there is transparency and trust between them and the internet platforms that they use. There's no reason to really be panicked yet, but the industry of advertising and marketing and technology are paying very close attention to this. Big issues that started in Europe, so-called GDPR, are going to come to the United States, and this will likely result in legislation that will protect consumers from their data being used or abused by internet providers and platforms. Pay attention, be alert, but no need to do anything just yet. Next lesson. Incredibly enough, people spend over half their day with media. That's actually over 11 hours a day, according to Nielsen. That's spending time watching television, looking at their mobile device, being online for work. Yet it's never been harder to find the right customers across 8 billion different devices in the US, all these apps, all these websites, all of the plethora of streaming services on your television. The only way you can really find these people is using data. It's needles and haystacks, and the haystack has just gotten way bigger. Significantly as well, people spend more time on their mobile devices than they even do with television. So these are huge consumer shifts. And it's a very good time to advertise because people are spending so much more time with media and content than ever before, but finding them is going to be harder, especially without data. Next, a picture or 1,000 words to sell your property. I think we all know this, but imagery, great pictures, and increasingly so video will increase brand recall and lead generation for real estate advertisers and marketers. We love being a real estate advertising provider because it's such a beautiful product to sell, and it's such a beautiful product to market with. Text, search, wordy descriptions, they're not really going to influence your consumer. Sure, search is important, but I see a lot of really bad real estate ads online with headshots and lots of text and just little tiny pictures that don't really do justice here. Big, beautiful pictures, more and more video that can be efficient, and they work really well when served to the right people at the right time. So let's not forget that lesson, and let's act on it. Next lesson. Data over time has been used differently by businesses. Mary Meeker does a great job of talking about how companies started to use data before 1995, and really it evolved from data sort of helping people who worked inside of companies to do their job better, to where we are now, where companies are really spending a lot of money and time and hiring people to build and use like data infrastructure and architecture. And ultimately what that means is, if you do that, your consumers will have a better experience with your company and your brand, whether it's in discovering your brand and your product, whether it's learning about how you're servicing them, or whether it's the way they interact with your brand and your company. So just keep that in mind and ask yourself, what decade is your data strategy in? Are you using data internally just to help humans make decisions, or are you really using data so that your customers and your prospects have a better experience with your brand? And then next lesson, very important here. Social is big. Facebook is big. Instagram is big, but it is not growing. Maybe it's because of the scandals. Maybe it's because people are feeling burned out on their internet consumption, which Mary Meeker talks about elsewhere in her epic PowerPoint. It's not where people spend most of their time. In the real estate industry, however, I found that a lot of people sort of associate Facebook with the entire web. But really, if you see here, people spend a little under 2.5 hours a day with social media. And then remember, they're spending 11 hours a day with total content and media. So it's just a few hours of their overall time spent. And there's a lot of other ways that you can advertise and market across channels, devices, apps. Facebook is very big. A lot of people do gather there. I think it's well over 1 billion users globally, but it's not the only place they go. And in fact, people are trying to cut back on their social media spending their time. And I know I am, and you probably are too. That's it. Summary is easy. Be mobile first when you think about your real estate advertising. Advertising is data-driven, as is the rest of organizations these days. The big 4 advertising tactics still work really well in combination. Pay attention to consumer privacy, but don't freak out. Data is better than human guessing about how and where and who to advertise to. Embrace video and beautiful pictures in all of your marketing and advertising that you do. And data creates better consumer experiences. When you show potential consumers great ads for your beautiful properties, you're actually helping them get information. And then don't forget that the web is way bigger than Facebook, way more diverse. There's a lot more to do using data, using technology, and using new methods. I hope you've enjoyed this quick presentation. And remember, as we say here at Audience Town, a home is not a bar of soap.